People, DG, I'm back again, Deluded. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Now, admittedly, people, I'm getting tired of speaking about Mesut Ozil and Unai Emery. It's boring. We all know the media are probably inventing it more so than it is. We already know. Clearly, Emery and Ozil, beyond just being the manager and the coach and having to both remain professional, they don't see eye to eye in terms of sporting. Now, many people would have picked, there's about 3 sides or even more to take. Many people have made their viewpoints. If you've got your opinion on Ozil, you don't really care that he's not in the side. If you've got your opinion on Emery, or it's all Emery, he's not allowing creative players. He's unable to deal with big characters. There's no creativity. All of these things and whatnot. And these are all fair points, but I don't feel there's one side you can stand on. I feel first and foremost, and I'll get onto it. I feel my issue with Emery, from what I've seen so far this season, is creativity, but the buck in terms of creativity doesn't start and end at Mesut Ozil. For me, you look at young Joe Willock, who he's doing the sort of Ramsey role, that box-to-box creative midfield ahead of the pivot sort of thing. We'll get onto it, but there's him, there's Ceballos, and you've got Ozil. And I think if you look at the minutes played, how frequently these players are substituted, and the fact that none of them have completed 90 minutes significantly this season in the league, it shows you potentially in terms of Emery's thinking. Does Emery necessarily trust when I say creative midfielders, I'm not talking about 10s, I'm talking about the people we have in our team to kind of break the lines. Does he necessarily trust these creative midfielders? Is it something with his coach? And I personally feel he has a handbrake, and one thing I like about him is that he reacts, but he's too reactive. He curls into a ball and we start trying to remain ridiculously compact and stuff like that. I think for him, he doesn't really care for a creative midfielder or someone with that skill set. I think he's clearly looking, I don't know what he's trying to make Torreira do, but Torreira's doing some mad sort of new role this season. Guendouzi's fairly creative. He's not of the level to consistently fashion chances, but he's got that pass in his locker. Xhaka, I suppose, has that pass in his locker. So I think he's looking at his free in midfield to produce this. In regards to Mesut Ozil, Arsenal Mesut Ozil, it's a closed book now, man. I'm a big Mesut Ozil fan, as you lot know. Him as a player and as a person, his quality can never be undisputed. It's there. But we're past Mesut Ozil now. He's 30 years of age. It's a very open and shut case. We know what the drama of Ozil and Arsenal is. Sometimes I do think he's been unnecessarily scapegoated. At other times he just hasn't pulled it out, and because of his age, because of where we're at, because if the manager really doesn't believe in him, there's no point building the side around him. I do think he can be used more than he's been used, and he can be on the bench more, and he can help us in some capacity from now to January, beyond not being a main player. So that's cool. I do think it is a bit disheartening because there's not really a leg to stand on. Again, I know Ozil's been poor in games, but when there's a serious lack of creativity within the side, not just Ozil, but a lot of them, the 3 names I've dropped, when they're not in the side, you're looking at it and thinking, Emery, like, what's going on? The fact that Ozil's only played 71 minutes in the Premier League is a bit of a joke, because I do believe he can help us. I'm not criticising Emery. I do believe everybody in this squad can help us in some capacity. No matter if you're the harshest of Ozil fans, you really have to be honest with yourself. He can help us in some capacity within the league. If Emery doesn't want to use him, then he doesn't want to use him. There's been illness excuses this season, there's been injuries, there's been sadly the robbery thing, so it's been stop and start. If Emery truly doesn't believe in him, that's fine, but it is a bit bewildering when he's named as one of the 5 captains. Is a bit of that so we don't lose the dressing room? What is that? Because for me as a fan, it's confusing, because you're saying things like the other players deserved it more, and Ozil, we know Ozil's like, I don't feel any fan has any issue with the fact that Ozil is not in our, beyond the fanboys, in the first 11 and whatnot. If you don't use him, then cool. But it's a bit of mix and match. We know that we can't get him off the wage bills for now. Maybe we're hoping the agent's hands are forced if he's not playing. But he's named as a 5 captains. He's saying he's important, he can help us. Then he doesn't deserve it. It's a bit of push and pull. So where really do we stand? Us fans can speculate and say clearly we don't want to move forward with Ozil within our team. But we don't really know what the plan is. And that's my issue. It's not the player or the manager. It's actually what are we trying to do here? Because if I just look at Ozil without opinions on him, whether I think he's been poor like I've just stated or a good player overall like I've stated, I'm seeing the skill set. In terms of creative players, we've had our expected chance creation in open play, people, is down. We have an issue in terms, defensively is where we need to improve, but in terms of creativity, whether it's scoring goals, fashioning chances, just damn right continuity in our play and that forward passing play, it's not there. Chances created, it's not there. If we're creating less chances and our midfield is, I'm not criticising the midfield, but it's not the most expansive. I'm looking at it and I can't understand why Joe Willock might be, on a large scale of things, inexperienced. He's doing his thing, but he's only 20. Why is he not in the team? Because what? He scored the same amount of goals, if not more, than Dele Alli in European competition now. And he's one of our top goal scorers. So he's there in terms of creating things. Ceballos, breaking the lines. Why is he not playing? Ozil, obviously, beyond just the well-documented drama that is Ozil, Unai Emery and Arsenal Football Club, why is he not involved? That's my issue, people. My issue is actually beyond this. It's like we need creativity in that midfield. And then all you got to do is look at it statistically, people. Ceballos has played 7 times. He got 72 minutes against Villa, 83 against Burnley, but after that he has not completed 90 minutes. So I think a lot of that comes down to the coaching. I think Emery even subbed off Ozil against Watford and we started to go poor. Crystal Palace last year he's done that. Not just Ozil, but there's been a couple of occasions. I do think Emery has a bit of a mental handbrake with allowing his creative players or the more poetry arts of football to go forward and reign supreme. And I do think that harms us as a club. Because like I said, Ozil's played 71 minutes in the Premier League, 142 minutes overall. He's been substituted in the appearances he's made. Joe Willock's, 6 appearances. He's completed 90 minutes once. Ceballos has come close to 90 minutes, but he's played 83 against Burnley and 72 against Villa. He ain't completed 90 minutes in the league. Forgive me if I'm wrong and I've missed out one. And then Ozil's a well-documented thing. So for me, it's deeper than Mesut Ozil and Emery. It's a serious issue with a reluctance to play a creative player or the skill set in terms of creating goals. And if you look at how Ramsey's last season, yes, Ramsey had injuries. He was used in big games, which we was praising, but he weren't necessarily trusted game in and game out. Does Emery see that as a tactical mismatch in his team? I think the only way he really feels a creative player is if it's a like. Not exactly, but you know Kevin De Bruyne thing, in that if we're honest, Kevin can play in a pivot and he can kind of create. If you're not that, I think you're gonna have an issue. I think Emery prefers a flat 3 in midfield, and I think Guendouzi can give us more in an attacking sense. I think Torreira can give us more. Xhaka, for all what you want to say, he has got some okay passes, and for all his criticisms. I do think we can do more in terms of offensively when it comes down to coaching and tactically, because there has been games on top of our players potentially being scared and not having and just not doing it. There's not been anyone to unpick the lock, so I do think Ozil could have got more minutes this season, and then away from Mesut Ozil, definitely the other two. Ceballos was brought here surely to do that for us, and he hasn't. They're not really allowed to do that, people. We're not playing that fluid football. We're not fashioning chances. God knows where we would be if Aubameyang never scored all these goals, people. We're Arsenal Football Club, man. We're 7th for expected chances from open play, people. But in terms of goals, we've scored 12, I think this stat said. Are we sure we've scored 12? We've scored 12 and we're behind Bournemouth and Leicester. No disrespect to either side because they both play very offensive teams, but we should be doing better than that. So there is an issue. For me, the issues are fundamentally defensively. That's what's going to be the difference between Arsenal Football Club getting top 4 and not. But offensively, we sell ourselves short. And I've made a lot of videos about this. Just go and look at my Unai Emery playlist, people. Just for the stats ones. Let me just stay on Ozil and Emery. I just hope it comes to a resolution very quickly, man, because one of them is not going to be here next summer, in my opinion. And is Ozil and his agents willing to wait it out, considering how we've been this season and the Wolves are out for Emery, which I've been speaking about? Or is Ozil going to have to be moved on in January? You've seen Arsenal prepared to take up some of his wages for him to go out on loan. But then you hear Emery phrasing him out, and then you hear him say he's important for us and he's using and whatnot. I don't get it. Guillaume Balaguer's allegedly said last season, though, for as much as people criticise Ozil, he was one of the first to return to training last season. The player spoke in private about how he wanted to be a leader and work harder, but he's obviously been frozen out. Now, whatever you say about Ozil, it's ironic because, again, I'm not here to fight anybody's cases. This is just my opinion as an Arsenal fan. But I'm a fan of giving and taking. If we've questioned Ozil's work ethic and all of these sort of things, and just based on the words of Guillaume Balaguer, if he's the first to come back to training, if he wants responsibility, if he's on this working hard thing, then you've got to give and take. Now, if Emery doesn't want to use him, I'm not saying you should criticise him. My thing is, okay, cool, if you're not going to use Ozil or any of these players, let's just take away the name Ozil. If you're not going to use this creative player, I've got to see where the creativity is coming from with other players, whether that's something you work on tactically or you allow Ceballos to be free, which I haven't think's happened. Like, Willock as well to a less degree. I'm not expecting, obviously out of all the three, I think I'd say Willock is probably the least creative because of his age and his skill set, but he's offered us something there. So for me, you've got to be using them, because you've let me, again, Mkhitaryan wasn't my cup of tea, and he predominantly played on the flanks at this club, but he's a creative player. You had Ozil, Ceballos and Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan's gone now. You've obviously got Ozil and Ceballos. Now, if Ceballos gets injured, you're just down to Mesut Ozil. Are you going to play him? And you've obviously got Joe as well. But if Joe plays in the pivot, then what happens? My thing is, I don't really care. I don't care if players want to stay, go, manager wants to get rid of players. It is football, innit? This is what it is. But I need to see planning. If I say I'm going to take this defender out, for instance, let's flip it on its head. If I say this defender's not my cup of tea, I take him out the side and we're unable to defend properly, people. You lot are all going to be like, DG, manager, what are you doing? Like, why are you not playing him? Why didn't you bring in another player, or why didn't you do something else with the tactics? Do you get it? There's not really a leg to stand on. Because away from Ozil, Ceballos, anyone I've mentioned, it really is a hard time watching us at times in terms of creating chances. Like, we're not playing fluid football. Admittedly, I want to see us improve defensively first and foremost, more than I want to see us play the Arsenal football of old, because it pains me the goals we concede. But I think there's an issue in terms of creativity, and it's deeper than Ozil. I think I like Emery. I want Emery to be a success here. I really like his tactics, but I have to call it as I see it, people. And just because I like him doesn't mean I have to sit here and defend him blindly. Not that I'm defending anyone, this is just my thoughts. I think it's deeper than Mesut Ozil and Emery. Personally, I want to see this put to a stop, because one, if not both, might not be here next season. And as an Arsenal fan, I don't know for anyone else, but it didn't matter if it was the Alexis and Ozil rumours, the whole documented drama which was Wenger, Aaron Ramsey's contract, Alex Oxlade's contract. I'm tired of dramas being around at Arsenal, and it felt like we was just making progress in that. We could only talk about what's going on in the field. I don't really care for these dramas. Like, I just want to be able to focus on what our club is doing that week in whatever competition. It's always Arsenal that have these dramas at the back burner of the season, and obviously we know the media invent this and quite frankly chat a lot of crap about it, but the media, we're allowing too many people in the media to earn a living off these clickbait titles, because all they'll see is Ozil and Emery spin these stories and whatever. I don't understand it, but I hope we come to a conflict. I hope the conflict comes to a resolution soon, whether that's Ozil leaving, whether that's a loan, whether that's he's going to utilise him, or he's fully aware of his position, which he should be. Ozil, you're a peripheral figure now. You have the opportunity to run out your contract, which the club probably don't want you to do, but you're not going to be utilised by Emery. If you get an opportunity, you should use it. And I think Emery is trying to break him down slowly, bit by bit, with these substitutions. Like against Nottingham Forest, I don't think he deserved that. With consistently not being on the bench. He obviously wasn't even on the bench at Old Trafford. We know he doesn't necessarily turn up away from home, but if I was old, this is a kick in the teeth, and this is, from a manager's point of view, this is really probably to freeze him out and maybe break him and whatnot, which I do think lacks a bit of class. But if he doesn't want to utilise him and he wants him to move on, and his agents and whatnot are not making it happen, and it has to, man. At the end of the day, I just want to deal with people that want to be at this football club, people that want to play 100%. And like I said, Emery and Ozil, this has to find a resolution, because all the both can go, because it's quite jarring, people. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm sure a lot of you level-headed fans like myself feel exactly the same way. But on that note, in fact, before we do the people, I'm out. I forgot the Joe Willett stats, which I butchered at the start. Let me go into my notes. 1 second, people. Where are they? Our top goal scorers this season: Aubameyang's on 8, Lacazette's on 2, Joe Willock and Martinelli on 2 respectively. But that's not just... Spurs have taken 2 points from 30 away from home. Boy, 10 goals in their last 2 games. Imagine that was Arsenal. that's irrelevant. But obviously, Spurs were just lost to Brighton, people. Joe Willock has scored as many goals in European competition as Dele Alli, which is 3. Ooh, that's a damning statistic there. That's the one I was looking for, people. Let me see if there's any others. Dennis Abao says the only player to play some part in all 10 of Arsenal's games, which is true. Yeah, he's utilising him. But Mike, he was 90 minutes. Like, you can play bits and pieces, but that if you go and look at the games, does Emery typically trust his creative players to be able to be on the field and beyond just creating chances and stuff? Does he trust them to see it out and get 3 points? I don't think so. So it is what it is. Going back to our Europa League game, we had an average squad age of 22 years and 250 days, which was our second youngest lineup in European history. Just off our other youngest one, which was against Olympiacos in December 2009, which was 21 years of age and 215 days. We've only conceded 1 goal in our last 6 games at the Emirates in the Europa League, which is decent. I mean, we're a different team in the Europa League group stages, man. But there's nothing else to add, people. On that note, people, deluded, I'm out.